I laughed because she had this dress that was made of diamonds. It like reformed and like separated, and all I could think of was Knack. Like, I was like,
oh,
is her
man.
dress Knack?
Yo. Knack 3 confirmed, baby.
I was like, why did he Knack like this? Now he's just devoted to somebody's dress. Welcome, all of my beauties and all of my beasts to another episode of the Super Agile Bros.
You did the thing.
You know I did the thing. I was like, you'll get it in a second here, y'all. Y'all get where I'm coming from. But as I said, welcome to the Super Agile Bros. So happy to have you, our Super Agile Nation family and friends. So as per usual, it's time to introduce the brothers. Can I first get the brother Kyle to introduce himself? How you doing, brother Kyle? How's life? How are you? What's crack-a-lackin'?
What's up, man? Everything's going good. Life is good. Crack-a-lackin' is positive crack-a-lackins. So we all good.
I like it. Positive crack-a-lackins. And I guess, I got to introduce the boy Steve, the brother Steve. Brother Steve, what's crack-a?
How are you doing, brother Bradston? What's crack-a-lackin' with you, friend?
Yes. Well, thank you. Thank you for introducing yourself as per whatever that was. I hope you just
stay. That was I just watched Friday and I was channeling Bernie Mac a little,
Oh, that was Bernie Mac. Oh.
No, it was not. Let me just say this. That was not Bernie Mac. That's just a joke. I watched the movie recently. I was not doing an impression.
That was the greatest Bernie Mac impression of all time.
It was
not an impression.
Officially,
it's as if he were in the room.
Y'all know Jay Farrow, the comedian, who does all the. He does like Eddie Murphy and Denzel Washington,
Kevin Hart.
Hart.
He does all of them.
I never heard of any of these people.
Oh yeah, okay. You just replaced Jay Farrow.
But Bernie Mac, you have.
He's no longer allowed to do Bernie Mac. If he ever did it, you're the only one. You're it. Oh my!
Dethroned.
Speaking of dethroned, I was about to say something actually pretty clever, and then I forgot it. So sorry for our fans.
Oopsie.
The segue just went straight to garbage, trash. You know what? You know what's messing me up right now? 5 seconds before this recording, I was introduced to a channel that just. I don't know what's going on with that particular creator, but it feels as if that YouTube channel is a cry for help. If you are in the Discord, I'm going to ask Steve to drop one of the videos like in random or memes so y'all can check it out. It's from like...
Oh, which one will you choose?
I think I'll choose the classic Take Me to Snurch. Take
Me to Snurch, yes.
I'm about it.
I think so.
And for those who are not so lucky to be in the Discord... What's the
if you just search that,
Fairy
it'll probably come
Airy.
up.
If you want to find her YouTube channel, it's FAIRYEIRY. This is not a ad for her channel. This is not a promotion of the channel. I'm just telling you.
She's not rating our podcast.
Nothing. I'm just telling you that channel has messed up my mind state for this episode. So I'm hoping to get back on track.
We were going to talk about a movie we saw, but instead we're going to just review her channel.
Her channel. Oh, I don't think I'm ready.
These things happen.
We'll tell you where
we
are
now.
Well, speaking of fairy tales. Oh, you like that segue? Fairy tales?
Man, I got whiplash. My neck hurts.
Segues.
Speaking of segues.
Oof. Have you guys heard of this movie called Friday?
Yes, it is actually a Disney movie.
Starring Ice Cube.
Chris Rock is the princess, the Disney princess. Did I say Chris Rock? Chris Tucker. My goodness, I'm worse than you, Steve.
I'm glad someone finally said it.
Who put these snakes on my plane?
Oh no.
Anyway, this episode is going to be a good one. We have made many promises on this podcast, and you know what? We're so good at keeping them, and we're just going to keep the ball rolling in our 100% accuracy of doing exactly what we said we're going to do. Today, we're going to review, I don't know if review, but deep dive, right?
We're going to talk about it.
We're going to talk about a movie called Belle. For those who are interested in how it's spelled, it's Belle. And it is
E-L-L-E.
And I think its actual like Japanese name is The Dragon and Freckled Princess or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Oh, I didn't even consider trying to look that up.
Yeah, so
it came up when I searched it. It was in parentheses.
Yeah, so
parenthesis, as they say.
It was parenthetical.
It's parenthetical.
Yes.
So if you're looking for the movie, it's Belle, the Dragon, and the Freckled Princess.
Ooh.
Princess. And it is a movie made by the same studio that made Summer Wars. Do you know what the studio name, Steve? You know these type of things.
I don't remember off the top of my head.
I should have written this down. I know who the writer is.
Yeah, you should have. I should just know it.
I know who the writer of the movie is. That would be Mamoru Hosoda. So anyway, that's just facts that don't really matter at the moment. But anyway, we're going to be deep dive talking, reviewing, chatting about Belle. It's an anime movie. It came out, I think, end of last year, maybe?
Yeah,
Oh.
2021.
Let me interrupt you. It's Studio Chizu.
Chizu, yes.
This is their first movie. No. Sorry. It said feature film, and for some reason I thought it said first film.
Translated to...
It is a feature film. Okay, never mind.
So,
not the first
so
movie.
Studio Chizu...
What an impressive first movie would be.
If they went... Yeah. So if Studio Chizu, I almost said Chizu, they made this movie. They made A Girl Who Left Through Time. They made Summer War. I know there's some other anime movies that they've made. But
I think they made The Boy and the Beast.
Boy and the Beast. Okay, I'm not.
It seems like their style.
Beasts.
I'm Beasts. Not familiar with that one, but so today's episode we're gonna deep dive into Belle. If you have not seen Belle, if you're interested in watching the movie without any spoilers and experiencing it for the first time on your own, I recommend that you stop now. We're gonna go into it as we do with these deep dive episodes. We get into everything that we want to talk about, no holds barred. So.
Or just turn the movie on and mute it and then listen to our commentary as you watch.
We'll do that on our YouTube channel so that we'll immediately get a strike. Just upload the whole movie with...
you know that our dulcet tones are going to be better than any of the original music or singing in the critically acclaimed soundtrack.
The original scores. Come on, guys. And we'll do Soul Pumpkin in the background the whole time. The 6-hour version.
How'd you guys like that? Did you enjoy being destroyed by the Soul Pumpkin?
The smooth sounds, the Soul Pumpkin. It was so good. I actually went back and listened to the beginning of it multiple times because the beginning of the Soul Pumpkin sound music song. I don't know. It's a vibe. Man. It's a vibe. Like
it's not a vibe. It's like a vibe.
You like that song.
It's a vibe with the accent on the E. Like it just doesn't come out right.
You can find 6-hour long version of that song.
I think it's only 6 hour long.
I've only seen a 6-hour version.
There's no mercy where somebody made a 1 hour version. It's only 6 hours.
All or nothing. It's all or nothing.
And I just want the listeners to know I was against Soul Pumpkin. These clowns wanted it. They thought it would be great.
And you loved it.
I agree, it was great, but I was against it. So if anyone's hateful, don't blame me.
Okay. He said, just to let you know, at one point I was against it, but I actually really liked it. So I
was against it until it happened, and then I was like, it's a good way to celebrate, but it is still
terrible. To do it. It was the way.
It's not fair to our fans.
I think it was very fair. I think it is very fair.
I think y'all deserve this.
Yeah, absolutely.
We needed to expose them to it.
I know Finn deserves it.
It's a gift to be shared.
Man, Finn is like the antagonist to Steve. Like
I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy, which is Finn.
So, we're going to get into it. So you've had plenty of opportunity to stop listening at this point. So let's go ahead and jump into Belle. So as I do with most of these, I just want to ask y'all, what do y'all think of Belle? If you want to give a rating, 1 to 10, 1 to 5, whatever 4 stars, 5 stars. I don't care. But how do you feel about the movie? Did you like it? Did you dislike it? General thoughts.
I guess I can go first.
Okay, go for it.
Oh, so general thoughts. It was an unexpected pleasure of a movie. Like I anticipated that it would be pretty good because Steve typically has pretty good taste. So since he suggested it, I figured it wouldn't have been a trap, as you said, Brad.
But also, Steve is Steve, so you never know.
Yes, it was sort of a mixed bag in that way. It was kind of slow going at the beginning, but then once it picked up, I was like, okay. And then, as it went on, I was like, they really had a plan for this, didn't they? And so, all in all, I had my assumptions because it is based on, like the old Beauty and the Beast story, but supposedly they pulled from the original, which I don't know very well. My point of reference is pretty much the Disney version, which I hear is similar, but Disney-fied, so they can make infinite money off of it. Mm-hmm. And they didn't pull from that a whole lot. There was a lot of unique ideas. Art style was great. The music was really good. Made me want to go find the original music, which I haven't found yet. But super enjoyable experience. So, yeah, to reiterate, before we get into spoilers, if you haven't watched it yet, go watch this movie first because it's really good. 2 hours though, so be ready.
Yeah, it is a long
some food,
one.
Something.
Steve-o?
Cool. So, my overall impression was that the movie was good. However, I was disappointed by it.
Oh, really?
It was not as good as I hoped it would be. And my takeaway is it's just a worse. It has a lot of. Well, it's not really. It's hard not to draw comparisons to Summer Wars because both this movie and Summer Wars take place partially in like a huge metaverse style virtual reality world, like Facebook gone crazy. But the things that happen in the stories are completely different. So it's really not fair to compare them. But I still can't help but feeling that this feels like kind of just a worse Summer Wars. So my advice would be watch the movie, then listen to this episode so as to avoid spoilers, and then go watch Summer Wars because you're gonna love it. if you like this movie, you'll love Summer Wars. Yeah, the music was cool, although it didn't blow me away as much as I expected. The art is great. The story was a little boring, honestly, at times. I liked. We were all trying to guess what the twist was going to be because it was really obvious. Like, oh, there's a secret, and you're trying to guess what the secret is. So it's not really a twist. It's a revelation, and I was happy with the revelation because it felt earned. So that's good. But up to that point, I was kind of bored, and there's a lot of things that happen where like the story is like, wait, how did we end up here? What's going on? Why is this person doing this? So it didn't feel as cohesive as Summer Wars.
So before I give my review or whatever you want to call it, how did y'all watch the movie? Where did you watch it?
Good question. I watched it. I rented it on YouTube, I believe, for like $5.
Okay.
And I watched it in English, which was just I was watching it with it was like a double date with another anime loving couple, but I dare not hit them with that Japanese dub. So
that 1-2 punch. What about you, Cal?
I watched it on my couch.
Badoom.
Yeah, I was standing the whole time. But
So
Kyle
I watched
used
it
the couch. He's a
with
pro.
my wife. Yeah, I was gamer strats.
Levitating.
And then we watched it for free-ish because we pay a subscription, HBO Max. Yeah, on the big screen.
And you guys watched it in English?
In English.
Okay. So it's so interesting. We all watched it on different platforms. I don't know if this is a first, but it's probably a first. We watched it on Amazon Prime. And
it was on Amazon Prime?
Mm-hmm.
For free?
Not for free. Rented it.
Oh, so you rented it too? Okay, I was about to be mad. I'm like, bro.
One thing I'll say about the Amazon Prime experience, I don't know what's up with Amazon, but they don't really care about their products because I found they're just like, oh, you know what, you're gonna come here anyway. It's like
you used it, didn't you?
Huh?
It's like you used it, didn't you? That's all they want, just for you to use it.
Yeah, I used it because I couldn't figure out where else. Well, I don't have HBO Max, and I didn't know it was on YouTube. So it was. I might have watched it on YouTube because I think the Amazon Prime Video player is trash. So I probably would have used YouTube. But anywho, I went on my phone, found the movie. Oh, it's on Amazon Prime. I go to the website on my phone. It tells me you can't purchase it here. You have to do it on the app that you're going to view it on. So I go, cool. We're going to watch it on my TV, and we have the Prime Video app. Go to the Prime Video app. Go to the movie. You cannot purchase it here. You have to go on the app on the phone.
Snap.
So I had to go to the phone app.
All this redirection.
And then go to the Prime Videos, and then I could purchase it. So I couldn't purchase it on the site, and I couldn't purchase it in the app on the TV. I had to purchase it in. I've never had an issue with renting a video straight from wherever I wanted to, on Amazon Prime. Yeah. But this was very specific. It was like a wild goose chase. So
I wonder why.
I don't know, man. Amazon don't care. They really don't. But also I wanted to ask because I was wondering if y'all watched it in English because we were trying to see if it was in Japanese with subtitles, but English was the only option. So, okay, my review of Belle. So I thought it was a great movie. I watched it with a group of friends. I just threw it out there like, hey, y'all, I'm having an anime movie night watching Belle. And, me, my wife, another couple, and then another guy. He wasn't with his wife, but he
Fifth
came.
Wheel.
Yeah, he was representing. And he was a big fan of Summer War and all of Studio Chizu's films. So he was like, yo, I really want to see this. Great opportunity. And
nice.
I think watching it collectively with a group of people was the best experience. I think if I watched it by myself, I don't know. I would have been like, at some moments. But I was able to ask. Like, there's some moments that confused me a little bit. And then I think it was kind of a sweet movie, like touching. So I think it was nice to have a group of people. And there are certain moments in the movie that we'll get into that I thought were great. And I thought it was even better with other people watching it. The music was great. La, 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 la. A lot of la's. But
a lot of la's.
Great movie. I enjoyed. I mean, I agree with y'all. It was a little bit slow. It kind of felt like a slice of life type of anime at one point, like especially in the beginning, like just slow moving. I know I'm getting to know all the characters, but I did like a few of the characters in the movie. What's the guy's name? Kamishin, the dude who's always in the canoe.
Oh, the
kayaking dude.
Oh, the kayak guy. The canoe / kayak.
And then the main character, what was it? Suzu's best friend, Hiro or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Hiro, yeah.
She was absolutely vicious.
Like, she's a savage.
Just a savage. Just definition of a savage. But overall, I like the story. I like you said, it wasn't a twist, but like you said, it was a reveal. You knew there was something behind all of it. And I thought it was a good approach. I thought some of it was interesting, and I hope we'll definitely talk about that. And I just like the premise overall. I wish there was like more about this the U and AUs and all this stuff. Like I like the sci-fi aspect. I kind of wish there was more time in that world, just exploring it first. But I know it's a Beauty and the Beast type of thing, so whatever. But yeah, I had a great time. I'd give it like a 8 out of 10. Person, I liked it. So let me ask you, like, just from with your we all knew that it was going to be a Beauty and the Beast like retelling or whatever. Like, do you feel like it lived up?
No.
Like it lived up to its source material? Do you feel like it did something new and fresh? And once again, we can get deep, get into whatever you want to. Or do you feel like it was kind of weird for them to use this? Like they could have just went a different direction. Like, how did y'all feel about it being kind of directly paired to basically a classic that everybody knows?
I did not know that they apparently went to like the source story below Disney. Mm-hmm. So I was comparing it to the Disney movie as well. I guess I don't mind. I don't see a problem with it really. It definitely is different. I mean, brief spoilers. We are gonna do major spoilers, but I'll just say now, like, there isn't really. It felt like there might be a romance between her and the Beast, but then it quickly becomes like, no, I just am worried about him, and it's like it was kind of weird actually, because at one point they meet up and it really feels like they're like giving each other googly eyes.
Yeah.
But then it's just like, no, it was, whatever. Because she likes some other guy, and I thought there was going to be some sort of maybe like love triangle going on, but no. So I don't know. I felt like I didn't care too much if it was a retelling or not, but in terms of it being a retelling, it felt kind of like a weak retelling to me.
Yeah, I can agree with that. The bits, I guess, that were, I guess, direct references, because like you, I haven't read the original, but they definitely did pull inspiration from the Disney version. It's like most of those references kind of fell flat for me. I didn't really see the reason why they didn't just treat it like an original story, since so much of it seemed
original,
like it was trying to be an original story.
Yeah.
And so it just seemed shoehorned in, like, especially since we're talking about, I guess, the scene with the googly eyes, that they had the whole like ballroom dance thing that didn't feel earned. And then the googly eyes, I think, is because, in the Disney version, Belle and the Beast do have feelings,
It's the tale as old as time.
Yeah,
exactly. And
imagine you're watching The Tale as Old as Time, and they're not literally singing that song, but they're singing some like romantic music. And then they're like, and then they both, swipe left or whatever. And they're like, cool, all right. Like, that's kind of how it felt.
First date.
Yeah.
First date.
That's super strange. And then to go back a little bit, I think the movie was kind of misdirecting us, because like her aunties or the people in her singing group, they were like pressuring her, saying that she was in love with a bad boy. But that was before she knew who Beast was. But it's like, even if she did want to help, it still seemed like she was interested, even at that point. But it's like she denied it the whole time.
I do not remember. I thought they were pressuring her because she was in love with
Shinobu.
Her childhood friend.
They were just referencing that they knew she was infatuated with somebody who was a bad boy.
Right.
Yeah.
That's true. They didn't say who, but I guess my takeaway from that conversation was, they know about how much she likes her. Like, I was thinking she likes her friend, not she likes the Beast.
So
I think I was. Maybe I'm misremembering what I thought in those moments.
Shinobu a bad boy though?
No, he's like the most upstanding citizen like ever.
He's a nice guy.
Oh, did they specifically say bad boy?
Yeah, they did.
Maybe I really don't remember.
Because okay, I want to take a detour. I do want to come back and give my thoughts. But there's that moment was kind of interesting because so there's the four ladies, right? And they're like, "Oh, like you must be into a bad boy." And then one of them starts detailing how they lived in Ohio or something. Yeah. They're like, "Oh, I was in Ohio, and there's this guy who's a bad boy." And like, I don't know if it was the writing or the delivery, but she was like, and I made him a present. I gave him a present. And it was like, pause, right? And I was like, am I supposed to insinuate that you, like, and then she's like, oh yeah, I wrote him a song. Like, it was such a weird way it was delivered in that moment. I was like, oh, are you fast? Like, what's happening here? And then she kind of brought it back around. But it was just such a strange way to tell that story. Like,
it's funny that you bring that up because technically that's foreshadowing. Do you remember what happened next?
She wrote him a song, right?
She sang to him.
She wrote him a song, but it turned out I think he was a student, and he was like a kid,
a child. Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't romantic. She delivered the story as if it was romantic, but then she revealed like, I'm kidding. It was just a kid.
Oh, see, I missed that. I thought that she was saying that they were kids. But it was an actual
she was an adult.
child.
She was like in college or something.
Oh, wait. Now that's
Yeah,
even
she
more
was about to go to college, and he was in 8th grade.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. Now I'm really...
Yeah. It was raunchy.
Well, it's not raunchy because
It's like
the
her
reveal
babysitter
is supposed to...
or something, right?
Yeah.
Well, the way
It's
she was telling the story made it feel like it was. But
that's
yeah,
fair.
the actual story was pretty, I guess.
But it's
relatively
funny. It's fun. It's foreshadowing, not funny. It's foreshadowing because that's what we think of the Beast. Like, oh, something's going on here. But then it turns out to be an underage child.
Yeah.
And
Oopsie.
she helped,
Because he was, what, 15? 14?
Something like that.
Or something.
And she's like 17. So it's not too big of an age gap, but he's younger.
I think he was younger than her, significantly younger than her.
Yeah, he was like 13 or 14. She's definitely 17. I don't remember how old he was.
His dad called out his age. I want to say 14.
I think it was 14. I know it's not
12
or 10 or 11.
No, because his younger brother was,
like
they played it up like it was way too much of an age difference, but it did seem like it was close enough that I would have been like,
but so
they were like the same height and everything.
But it's so interesting because like I do think like at that age, 14 and 17 is a huge gap, right?
It does feel like
mentally,
yeah.
It's big.
But if somebody was creepy, like that would be well within like reason.
Yeah, in the US, it would be right. No, I don't know, 18. I don't know. Anyway. So I just thought those.
I mean, in the South,
well, let's not even get into that. So no. So my take on the whole story. Actually, I appreciate how much they didn't stick to any story I was expecting. I do think that it did feel a little rushed, but I guess Belle and Beast in the movie, it was a little rushed too, because it's like she kind of was kidnapped and then she had Stockholm syndrome, so it kind of naturally progressed.
All the actions and motivations in the Disney movie make sense, more or less,
because she's like there.
Like it's questionable. Yeah, she's there to save her father. She's there to replace her father,
and then
they explained it at least, or you can explain it after you
can. Yeah, you could say, well, I wouldn't do that, but you still understand. Yeah. Whereas in this movie, a lot of times I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah, because the evolution of their it's the movie itself is like focused in on the evolution of their relationship, right? Over time, seeing him grow to be more of a gentleman, seeing this and seeing her like admire him for his protective nature. But in this movie, a lot of the action, if you want to call it that, or a lot of the focus was just on Suzu, like dealing with, oh, I'm a weird teenager and I'm popular here. And then
she had a sad
upbringing. Justin.
My man Justin.
The Power Ranger?
Yes, who was supposed to be
Justin.
Who's supposed to be Gaston, kind of, sort of.
I
guess. But he was also just
he wasn't a bad guy though. He was just an officer. So
no, he was a bad guy.
I mean, he was the antagonist for the movie, but he seemed like
he kidnapped her.
I mean, that's Gaston's characterization as well. He's not a bad guy. He's just getting the town into a fury to go kill a monster in a castle that kidnapped the girl.
Okay, I guess.
I don't know. Gaston and him are both bad guys to me because number one, Gaston.
Yeah, I agree.
Gaston kidnapped his father and like trapped him in the like so he wouldn't tell the truth, and so that's just wrong. And Justin kidnapped Belle, and it was like, I'm going to shoot you with my sponsored.
But it's after
the sponsorships were so
my crypto.com sponsored he's like,
but it was after he found her at the castle and stuff though. Like she was at that point, she was an accessory to the crimes of the Beast.
Yeah, but the way he handled it was absolutely villainous. Like there was no
they played it up. Like he was a bad cop, but he was still just a cop.
So I think Justin and everything about him is bad.
Yes.
In terms of the movie and the writing, and here's why. There's a couple of reasons. One, his justice beam just exposes you for what you really look like.
Yeah.
But I'm like, is that really the worst punishment you can think of
online?
Yeah, online it is. If you're making a virtual
getting doxxed.
Yeah.
But it doesn't even dox you. It just shows what you look like. Like, I guess it doxes you to your friends and people who know you.
And eventually, that'll spread
but if
it
the
enough.
But if the whole premise of you is what they said, are you like not satisfied with your real life and you're trying to create a new you? Doing that is essentially destroying the whole experience. And since it's biometrically linked to you, you can't make a new account. So it's done.
That's true.
You know.
Okay, that's fair. It's undoable. That's a little bit of stakes. And it didn't occur to me, but I guess everyone is trying to be anonymous on you. Mm-hmm. So that's fair. That's fine. But in the moment, I was like, I don't know why everyone would be so upset about this, because I was thinking it's like Facebook where everyone knows who you are anyway, except Belle is being secretive. But so like, it was stakes for her regardless, but I didn't understand why it was a thing for most people. I didn't understand why he hated the Beast so much. I'm like, oh, he fought a bunch of people and broke into a concert, but you were already chasing him when he broke into the concert. So like, what did he do that was so villainous that you had to like disrupt the entire social life of this online service?
You know,
he like went out of his way and broke a bunch of stuff just to get to the Beast.
You know what's so interesting to me? I feel like that's real though. That there'd be these people within a virtual world, if you could choose any role, if you could be anything, who would fundamentally dub themselves the protector of the space, you know? Like, I am the moderator and try to like exert control in this space in the guise of doing the right thing, or, oh, we need rules and regulations. You know, it's like, no, like, we don't need that. And then he just had this weird group of people who essentially were just like,
the Avengers.
Yeah.
So I have a question about that
Avengers.
part.
I bet we have the same question.
So going back to the whole, biometric way of creating your avatar, did something about these people make them predisposed to being Power Rangers or superheroes, the Avengers? Like, did they choose?
That was my exact question.
Well, okay, I can answer this question because that's just what they're wearing, and they can choose whatever they wear, but their actual body, what their physical state is determined by the biometrics. But your clothing is whatever so they have the same want.
Skin.
Yeah. But they all had like the same body shape. They were all like humanoid, either human or anthropomorphic animal people, like
semi-built.
Yeah, they were all pretty big, pretty tall. Whereas everyone else was like random gremlins and doodads.
Right. Super varied. Yeah.
So I actually have a question about that, because there's a moment where Suzu, when she's making her account, it generates off of a picture she put in, right? Right. It didn't generate off of her live video feed. So when she was getting to select it, it was like confirm or cancel. So my interpretation of that moment was that, she could have inserted a different photo and it would have created a different entity of her, right? Like based off of the characteristics from that photo and also whatever other biometric stuff. So I wonder how many people that was their first choice, or if that was just
like for her,
or did they keep just generating off of other photos until they found one that pleased them, Like,
that reminds. Does that mean that the Power Rangers use like photos of animals and stuff to generate their biometrics?
Well, it had to be you. So I don't.
Did it? Wasn't there a point of contention where people were like, she thought that maybe it had used the face of her classmate instead of
Ruka.
her own face?
But it was. I mean, she said that, but it definitively showed that the square box chose her face in the picture. So I don't know. Like, and it had the freckles, so I don't know. That's
super weird.
Just maybe coincidence.
But it definitely looked like Ruka. So it's like a weird quirk in the storytelling, I guess.
So my question is, Ruka, you saw her avatar at the end of the movie.
I forgot, what was her avatar?
So Kami Shin's was like this weird furry looking.
It was like a dog,
Chewbacca looking dog thing, a little small one, and then Ruka's was looked like some type of kind of gremlin-esque cute gremlin with a saxophone in its mouth.
Yeah, it's just like almost like a wizard looking thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was like, is the saxophone an accessory? Or is that a part of her body? Like,
her character can't speak. She can only play the saxophone.
Because she's really a band nerd. Like, she's really just a band nerd. Like,
hardcore.
I don't know, man. The other question I had was, if Justin self-appointed himself as the moderator of you, which first of all, one person shouldn't be doing all that. There should
It's
be
a lot of
sections.
control.
Yeah, it's a lot. But like, how did he act? It's one thing to self-elect, but he actually had like some sort of authority within the world, and somehow he got all these sponsorships, and somehow those sponsorships translated into a game-breaking weapon that he could use anywhere he wanted.
So, yeah, that's the odd part to me, because clearly he got something from the creators themselves, right? Like
he said that
they approved of his position and what he was doing, and then he was rewarded also with sponsorships and all that jazz. So it just seems like he built over time, because you existed for a while, right, before Suzu came in. So he must have built his rep in the streets to be somebody who upheld use, I don't know, values or something.
I mean,
whatever
they don't say who the voices were, so maybe there's a chance that he was connected to them through some extended means, like maybe he knew them, but he wasn't part of their group.
Yeah, I was gonna say, oh, maybe he worked for them, but that doesn't make sense because he had sponsors. Because if he just worked for them,
thought the voices were the whales, or at least they were represented by the whales.
Yeah, super.
Oh, really?
It's kind of unclear.
That actually makes a lot of sense. I didn't glean that at all. Yeah,
the sub whales, the subwoofers. Yeah, like that whole. I mean, to me, that's why I was saying earlier, I would like to learn a little bit more about the world. But once again, the movie was already long enough, so I know they couldn't do that. But they put so much of it in front of you, it felt like I needed a little bit more explanation on what was going on. Like, if they just were like, hey, Belle and Beast had an encounter, and then they disliked each other and came to love each other. But, like, once they added that whole weird police element in Dollar Tree Avengers, like, it just got a little...
It was corny.
Yes.
Honestly, it was corny. And not just corny, but like I was saying about Justin and his power, it seemed really contrived. Like, how did this happen?
Mm-hmm.
Why is this happening?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I did want more answers.
With Gaston, you can understand how a man like him would have followers and would have authority because everyone loves him, because he exudes. Because it on the surface, he seems like the kind of guy that you would want to follow.
Yeah, I mean, maybe Justin had that. We just didn't get to see much of his background, but people did follow him, you know?
That would make sense.
They definitely were ganging up against... Well, they're definitely... during the concert, when they all break in, people were cheering for him.
Yeah. So I have a question. Now talking about you and some of the stuff going on. What was up with the AIs? Like...
Nothing.
Like, what?
There is no explanation.
Why did the AIs fundamentally, like want to protect Beast or Dragon? Like, what was that about?
Mermaids.
I just want to run through what I know. Is that cool? Just if anyone's listening, just for the sake. All right. So most of the characters in the movie are people. They're real people. There's not like a prevalence of artificial people or robots or anything in this world. But occasionally you can meet, or she meets, like a little AI character. And it's actually not clear that it is AI the first time you meet it. You think it because everyone's avatars are so bonkers that it could have just been like a child or something. But at one point she's looking for the castle, and she keeps finding these little AI creatures, and they keep misleading her. And then eventually one recognizes her and likes her and is like, I'll take you there, and actually brings her to the castle. And it seems like they were all working together to mislead her. And the one dude, the one that let her in, kind of foiled their plans, and it doesn't come to anything, but they're like, they don't like her being there and bothering their master. And they're like guarding this like rose bush in one of the rooms. And I was like,
one second.
There's no explanation for any of it. We don't know what the roses are. We don't know why they like him.
I want to stop you for 1 second, because I actually don't think that character, Angel, was an AI. I think that was his little brother.
Yeah. Angel was,
because
you're right.
Because he was very like, and then at the moment when he was protecting him, holding Angel, when his dad was yelling at him and stuff. Like, that was,
Yeah.
So everything else was AI.
Did we see Angel get killed?
Killed?
When all the AIs were killed?
Were the AIs killed?
See it.
Yeah.
When they got hurt, when they stormed the
place,
were hurt. They were at least on the ground.
It looked like they were hurt badly.
But
they were like crushed.
Yeah, Angel wasn't amongst them at all. No.
Okay, I don't really remember.
Because the last time I saw Angel was that moment where he was like,
let her in.
Like, yeah, let her in, and then Dragon was holding him like, I'll protect you or whatever. And I think that was the last time he appeared.
So I guess there's like a subtext that maybe the way that he protects his younger brother in real world, he protects the AIs from like the indecency of you. But there's never any implied indecency. Maybe when Justin has them killed and he's like, they're just AIs. But like up to that point, we've seen no reason that they would feel the need to be hiding or like be protected.
Mm-mm.
And I still don't know anything about these roses.
Yeah, the rose was just clearly just mushed in there.
They just pulled it from the source material.
They're just like, get that in there somehow. We gotta have the rose. Like,
to me though, the Beast's whole situation was confusing because first off, he was like on the opposite end of you from everyone else. Mm-hmm. So Belle had to like physically travel there. And then like his area was glitching. He had property.
Why was his area glitching? Why did he have property?
Yeah, like so many unanswered property. Like, why does he get a castle if everyone hates him? Like, how did he spawn this in?
And why do fireflies work on his house, but not on like his house burnt down so quickly? Anyway, fireflies. That's a shout out to Fortnite. you didn't get that. Anyway,
I didn't get that reference.
That's the clarity.
Like, 3 people got it, including us too.
But anyway, continue, Kyle.
So yeah, it was pretty much. I was really wanting them to explain if everyone had like a hideout or something in you, because nobody else like went to. Even Belle didn't seem. She had like all this elaborate clothing, but she never went to a space that was like indoors.
So
inside of you,
my interpretation was that Beast was out there. Dragon was out there beating people up in the battle arena. And that he was like probably accruing like coins or whatever the currency was. So he was like, that's why everybody knew him, right? Because he was just a beast in the battle arena. So he probably bought some metaverse property. And I guess the game doesn't have to tell you whose property is what or who owns anything. So he probably just chose a place on the edge of time. Like.
This man had dimensions blocking his area.
Yeah, he had runes on the walls, and then the AI was able to control like blocks.
I guess
it was more confusing for him to have a castle.
He was in creative mode.
Based on the source material.
He was in creative mode.
He was playing in creative mode.
And he figured out how to make use like redstone in Minecraft to make like an elaborate. It's very strange. Okay, so speaking of some weird, I don't even know if it's inconsistencies, but trying to understand how you works. There's a particular moment where I was like, hold on, now I'm really confused. So remember toward the end of the movie, like they are, I can't remember where. They find out the dragon gets found. And his castle gets attacked or something. And then Belle's like, oh, I got to go find him and protect him or something. But she's with her friends. And she's like, and then like Hero calls her like, hey, you need to get over here right now.
Right.
Something is happening or whatever. She starts running toward where Hero is at the old school.
Oh, yeah.
And in the same moment, she plugs in
the earbuds.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And she goes into the universe and is actively moving in you and in the real world.
She's doing both.
Simultaneously. And like interacting with people.
Yeah.
Like it's so unclear to me what the...
Was she just logging in and logging out in between scenes?
But she was like doing stuff while she was sprinting.
It's absolutely a plot hole. I can't see any way around it. That was one of the issues I had with the movie. Is it seemed really inconsistent how you related to the real world. So like one question Kiesha kept asking while we were watching was like, when she was trapped in the castle, or when I think she was being held by the bad guys or something.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, why doesn't she just log out?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, they haven't explained what happens when someone logs out. Do you always log back in from a spawn point? Do you log back in from where you started, from where you logged out? Because if that's what happens, that's not going to help her.
Yeah.
If when you log out, does your avatar just go to sleep? Because if that's what happens, it's not going to help her.
Like in Rust?
It's extremely unclear. Yeah, like Rust. It's unclear what happens, and there's just a lot of situations where I'm like, why don't they just tell us how this works? But I think that they didn't want to overly constrain themselves, and they wanted to have it open to storytelling.
Smart sci-fi move. Don't explain.
And also, on the same note, when she was running while in the world, not only that, but at the end when they're in the school with all these monitors and stuff, it's like she's in the world, but she's watching on a monitor. But I'm like, isn't it supposed to like infiltrate your brain or something?
That's the super unclear. Like
the first time she logged in, it seemed like that's what it did. Like it was kind of meshing, because it said it was taking over cognitive something. I forgot exactly what they said, but
they also made process. They made you seem really threatening, and then they never did anything with that. Like here's some earbuds that are going to hijack your entire.
It's what Meta wants us to believe it is. Like a nice place that's not going to do evil things to you when given the opportunity. You know, like it's like the perfect Meta. Like if Meta was actually purely good, it wouldn't use your information against you or something like that.
It wouldn't use your brainwave
against you. So one of the guys who was hanging out, he made a point. He said, I would have preferred a Sword Art Online approach to when you go into the world, because at least that would make that like definition more clear, right? Like, you're in the world or you're not. But I think it would break the story, because at the very end, when she's doing the final performance, la 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 la, and then she gets Justin to shoot her in the face. So first of all, Justin didn't want to shoot her in the face, but she like forced him to do it. Can Justin not control the trigger mechanism that is embedded in his avatar? Like,
I think he was just convinced.
He was like, all right, bet. I'll blast
but he
you.
wasn't convinced, because like 5 seconds later, he lost all his sponsors. Like
that's true.
You know,
that was the best part of the movie.
It was
unsponsored.
Like what?
Great payoff.
I'm like, leave Justin alone. Like
he was such a flat, one-dimensional,
unnecessary.
He was a plot device.
He was a plot device, exactly.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. You're right. Like we needed some kind of antagonist to push the story forward.
I choose to believe that she jammed her hand into the gun and pulled the
No,
trigger.
she had to jam her face into the opening.
Into his forearm.
Shoot me, senpai.
And also, can we talk about how Justin was so, like, just shooting that beam amongst groups of people?
Left and right.
Like,
he was just doxing everybody.
Like, everybody got doxed. Like, and the beam went pretty far. Like, it wasn't like, it's a short.
It was more like a blast. It was kind of explosive.
It was like a Kamehameha. It was like.
Somebody else got hit.
So I was watching. This is another channel everyone should check out called the Auralnauts. AURALNAUTS. And one of the things they've done is they've done basically a Star Wars abridged series. And for episode 6. They retell the story as if Luke is running a laser show, and he's the last laser master. That's what the Jedi are, is like he's a laser master. It's like an entertainment thing. He goes to Jabba's birthday to perform. And the gag is that they've visually extended Luke's lightsaber just off the frame. So he's like waving it around, and it's just this infinitely long stick of light. And it's really funny, but then there's one point where they zoom out to the planet and you just see this giant green lightsaber swing around. That's what I kept thinking of. I kept thinking about that during the movie.
Just light. It's just going. It just keeps going. That's so stupid.
Definitely watch the Star Wars series.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Justin was definitely I would say the worst character in the show. I'll say, speaking of characters, I want to tell you who my favorite character is. And,
Kayak Man.
And you know who Kamishin. And you know who Kamishin is in the real world, IRL? Steve. Steve.
Huh.
He moves just like Steve in the real world. Yes.
Oh.
Kamishin.
I thought you meant the voice actor.
No. I mean, you are Kamishin, Steve. You are him. Maybe not in the awkwardness. You know, I think you got more game than him. But
when I was younger, it was just the right amount of awkwardness.
To get all the girls. You know, the girls that everybody wanted. The band nurse. But just some of his movements as he's moving around, me and Shailene turned to each other and said, "That's Steve."
No way.
Like, we had the same thought. I was like, yo, isn't that Steve? She's like, I was about to say the same thing to you. So anyway, sorry, but Kamishin was definitely one of my favorite characters. He was completely unnecessary. Like, I don't like, in the grand scheme of things, like
I think he was sort of being used as comic relief.
Yes.
He was
definitely comic relief. Sure. But like
him and Rukia were forces. New Bleach coming out. I'm excited.
Oh boy.
But they were forces for good, man. They were. I think the little cute love scene at the end with them was like the best part of the movie. Honestly.
Oh, it had me dying, man.
Yes, at the train station with the
and she's just covering her face for like 2 minutes flat.
And he's awkwardly, and then like Suzu's like, incredible. Okay, just go out there and just did it. And he comes in, he's like, nope. It was that was definitely one of my favorites. I wrote that down.
I thought it was so funny how he thought that Suzu liked him, and he's like, "Do you like me?" And she's like, "I don't know how she responded, but
she
got
didn't.
The picture.
She just stared at him
like,
"Oh, that's right." She just stared at him, and he's like, "Oh, I guess not. Okay." But then he's like, "Wait, do you like me?"
Same.
And she just
immediately fell apart. Like,
he's
like such a teenager,
so wholesome
teenage girl. Yeah, because all you had to do was compliment his skills. Like, oh, you're very good, and
I'm rooting for you.
I'm rooting. That's his trigger word. Oh, you're rooting for me? Oh.
I almost, speaking of romance, I forget what the other guy's name was. The guy she actually liked, or whatever. Shinobu.
Mm-hmm. Shinobu.
So I don't know what his deal was. It was extreme. The whole time I kept expecting him to be like secretly a jerk, or to have some sort of weird ulterior motive. Like, your mother charged me to take care of you, so I'm just fulfilling my duty.
Yeah,
he just seemed too cool.
Mm-hmm.
Not cool in a good way. Cool in at arm's length.
Way too chill.
But he also could see right through her. Like, he knew exactly when she was upset.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is the emotional maturity that single women need from guys.
I think Shinobu is one of those characters who, like if you think about him just as like, he's not interesting other than he is like, he's like a Naruto, right? Like, Naruto's like, this is my ninja way. Like, this is just what I've decided to do, and I'm going to do it irrelevant of what anybody thinks. And Shinobu's was simply, I'm going to protect you. And I want to talk about Shinobu because one of my favorite moments in the movie, other than the like train station awkward teen situation, was the very end when she's like, well, first of all, the movie ended like 5 times, like straight black screened. Mm-hmm. And you're like, wait, are we going to credits? What's happening here?
We're not done.
But when like the concert was happening and they were like kind of showing all these moments from Suzu's life, and what I thought was the best part of the storytelling in the movie is that they never explained a lot of the characters that were around Suzu, but in a brief instance, they explained the characters in almost entirety, right? So she's singing and that shows a snapshot, like a picture of Suzu as a child and all of the choir women behind her or like with her, right? And it like immediately you go, oh, they kind of like adopted her as their like daughter. Like they're all collectively her mom, like And that's when they called each other like, yo, we got to go to Suzu. You know, we got to go help her. Like they've all taken on that duty of her mom when her mom passed. And her mom, I think, was in the choir and Suzu could sing as a child. So they knew her, right? And they knew she was her because they knew her voice, right? And then Shinobu, who's always this protective character, they showed that moment, the scene where her mom goes into the water. And then it shows Shinobu standing at the water with her, just holding her hand saying, no, stay here. And him in that moment taking on the protective role, not that he was her father, but more like a protective character. And I said, man, that is such a great way to tell. Like, they could have spent a lot of time explaining all these characters.
Yeah.
But it was the perfect way to encapsulate everybody's relationship really quickly at the end and explain why all of them being in that moment together was meaningful. And I was like, good on them. Like, that was, to me, solid.
I think the movie overall was really good at the whole show, don't tell thing.
I think so.
Because really, when we were introduced to these characters, it wasn't like, hey, I'm your funny friend. They never pushed it that way. Like, they would just have interactions as though we're coming into the story. I think that's what made that payoff at the end feel so genuine, is because, like, we've been seeing their relationship all the way up to this point, and now we're seeing the beginning, and, like, it's cathartic. Like, it culminates. Like, everything that we've seen so far makes even more sense now because we know where it started.
I really liked that reveal. So early in the movie, they show her watching her mother go in the river, and you know, we were making comments like, man, are there no other adults? Like, why did one woman jump in and no one else helped? Like, all that we understood, people were afraid. But we were just making comments like, really, just one person being an adult? And then she goes to run in and a hand reaches out and stops her. And I remember saying like, oh, there was another adult there, like someone else to take care of this poor kid. And then later in the movie, they extend that scene and you see that the hand belonged to Shinobu. And I was like, he was there. So that was a cool reveal. It was a cool way to like show something that we've already seen and we already know about in a different context. I love storytelling like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's, you know, it kind of reminds me of movies like made by like Christopher Nolan, like Memento, like Christopher Nolan, like this. You don't necessarily have to show everything. Like, he starts at the end of the movie, right? The end of the movie. He
starts at the end and the beginning,
you know, and then it comes in and then it explains everything. But it's like, it's kind of cool. I don't know. Like, I think it's just, like you said, Kyle, like, it's not even like they assumed anything about what you would take from the movie. They're just like, this is what's happening. Like, this is what's happening. You'll figure it out along the way. One of the negatives, the drawbacks of that was when, what's her name? Suzu, when everybody when Shinobu at that moment grabbed her hand, right? And then all of a sudden everybody was like, oh my gosh, Shinobu likes her, right? And it was all the trash talking in a group chat that she was in, which was hilarious to me. And then everybody was like, oh, and then Ruka hits her up like, hey, I need to talk to you or something like that. And she's like, oh my gosh, Ruka likes him. I don't want to really have this conversation. And then Hero's like, bump that girl. Like, Hero's just like vicious. But she's like, okay, but that exchange between Ruka and Suzu really confused me on the phone. And I had to like ask everybody what happened, because it just showed like a block of text from somebody. And then it showed Suzu respond, oh, I'm here for you and I'll support you or something. Right?
Yeah.
And then
I remember
it was like a smiling emoji. But she was crying.
Yeah.
So it didn't
and
make
then
any sense.
Then Ruka said, thank you so much for being there and supporting me, or something like that. And I was like, what just happened? I was so confused. But I think after like we collectively talked as a group, it was like, oh, this was just her saying, yeah, let's talk. I'm open to talk to help you out if you need. But it made it seem like something transpired that I missed. And I was super confused.
So I thought the same thing, but I just chose to take it as, oh, there's some personal thing that Ruka had, and our girl Suzu is just being a good friend, and it doesn't have anything to do with the story. so they're not bothering to explain it.
Yeah, but that's why they met up later, right?
Yeah, I think so. But I still think that's probably what it could have been. Because it seemed like it was a long text. It seemed like it would have been more than just, hey, can we talk?
Yeah, I think...
I want to take a moment to appreciate the way that they handled the interaction in the group text with using like the game board.
Oh, I wrote that down. That was so gangster. I was like, this is unnecessarily gangster.
Unnecessarily. Because it captured it like perfectly. And then it was like super intense, but it made sense. It was so good. What game were they referencing?
It was like
just any like
territory,
kind of like a civilization.
Yeah, civilization, Catan, territory. Yeah. Like it was. He's like, all right, I'm gonna send you go talk to this group, and it was just so intense. I was like, yo,
the coins, the points, it was way over the top.
Watch.
It was really cool and really well done, but I couldn't help but think that it was like detracting from the main story.
Yes.
Like, why does any of this matter?
Yeah.
I guess it makes her feel like a more fleshed out character, and I get it, but
I think that's where
they put a lot.
I think the movie struggled with being a fantasy movie and a slice of life movie, right? Like where like the IRL felt like a slice of life. Like, hey, this is what's happening to me. I'm having a crush, or this isn't, blah 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 blah. And like anecdotally, what she's doing in the virtual world is kind of impacting her. But it's really just more about this teenage girl dealing with the loss of her mother and dealing with and trying to grow. And then all of a sudden, it's just like this other story of her, like, being in this world, being a superstar, and then beast or dragon, and them having a weird platonic love relationship, So it was a little disjointing, but I think personally they brought it all together at the end because essentially you get to see that like Suzu is a lot like her mom, right? Like she basically jumped into the river that nobody else was willing to do to help Dragon because she saw that somebody was in need and she felt that she had the means to save him, right? Even at the expense of herself, right?
Her second life.
Life, because she essentially died, like her identity was revealed in you or whatever. I almost called it something strange, but in you. And then she literally put her life on the line when that grown man was about to punch her straight in the face.
He was about to.
Yeah.
So that part was good character building, but made no sense. She's like, I'm about to cross the country to go help this abused child with my own frail 17-year-old body. Like, what is she going to do?
If he wouldn't have stood down, that would have been a terrible situation.
Yeah, like if the stare down hadn't worked, like what is she going to do? Sing to him?
She should have rolled with Shinobu. Like Shinobu should have went with her. Like just
literally 100%. Anybody should have gone with her. And it wasn't like she rushed out of Dodge like immediately. Like she rushed to a train station.
They drove her to the train station in a car.
Yeah, but I'm like, they could have. The car had
exactly.
People could have ridden with her in the car. People who drove the car could have gone on the bus or on the train with her.
Right. Let's also talk about how they. First of all, let's talk about like the Reddit police figure out where they lived. Right. Like them going like, oh, there's a thing in the background. Like, okay, kind of. However you want to feel about that, like whatever. It moved.
I fully believe that's possible and probable.
It's probable they did it in a millisecond. So it's like, but it worked. I'll take that. The problem to me was that she just got off the train and just started wandering. Right? Yeah. Like it seemed like she had no actual, like she knew what city they were in. But like what neighborhood, and they were in Tokyo kind of prefecture, whatever it's called. But like Tokyo's extremely dense, and even an outlying community would have a lot of people and a lot of streets and a lot of things going on. I mean, I guess in many ways it was just destiny or fate that she found them.
It was for effect, yeah.
But I definitely felt like all these adults like kind of set her up,
100%. Because if that little boy wasn't outside, she would have ran down the next street. Because they lived on the top part where she hadn't like even explored yet, and he happened to walk around the corner, like down the road. Like like you said, it was just fate. Like it was, the plot had to happen. The next scene, she'd been running in the rain too long. It'd been like 5 minutes in movie time. So,
so okay. How did y'all feel about the beast's reveal? The dragon's reveal, right? So just, giving context, right? So, the first time we run to the dragon, it's at that weird orb concert, which I'm still trying to wrap my head around. Was that people making the orb?
Yeah. No. It was like
seating,
some
like
sort
the
of
floor.
Machine thing.
It's like the seating, like the bleachers basically are forming the
so
orb.
it's like the Senate in Star Wars. So.
Yes. Yes. Just
so they're all watching the concert, which was pretty cool. I thought that was pretty cool. So he comes in.
Bro, can you imagine being in the seats directly above her, below her? These are the worst seats in the house.
Terrible.
Her legs at the top of her head.
You just see like her scalp. Like.
I mean, and also they were super far from her. Everybody was. I mean,
yeah, they were like a mile away.
The circumference. But anywho, so Dragon comes in, disrupts everything. And Belle all of a sudden feels like there's something wrong with this guy. Mental health.
Yeah.
Like she recognizes this isn't normal, right? So they go on this investigation of who Dragon is. So what did y'all think about first? I'm working my way to Dragon in the reveal. But like, what did y'all think about the random people who they were investigating who they thought might be Dragon? Like the artist, the weird mom, and the baseball player.
It felt super random. I was like, well, who are these people and why are they getting more than like 1 or 2 minutes of screen time? This might be partially my fault because I think during that time is when we decided to kind of have like a little ice cream break and stuff. And so like, I might have just missed some details, but what I'm getting at is I don't really understand all of the leaps of the conclusions that led to those people being the suspects or to being connected. I know that at first it was like, oh, these are people that the dragon beat when he was, roughing up folks. But then after that, it spread to people, and I'm like, how are they related to Dragon? Like, what's going on? So I remember the artist because of some bruises.
Yeah, he had the bruised tattoos.
The tattoos, right? Which, first of all, did those look like bruises to you guys?
I think that might be.
I was confusing me.
It might be a
translation
Japanese
error, maybe.
It might be a Japanese thing. Like maybe it's not bruises, but maybe in Japan that imagery represents bruises.
Maybe that must be something cultural. Because I was like, I would never see splotches on somebody's cape and be like, oh, he's bruised.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying, Brad, because also it was, I guess, just based on like my Western brain, I thought it was like physical bruises. But then when it was revealed who Dragon was, the bruises he was sustaining weren't physical. They were psychological by his dad yelling at him.
Yeah, I think that's just the biometric sense. That kind of
it was always on the table that they could be real bruises.
So
I think the fact that it turned out to be emotional bruises was just a fun little twist.
So
I don't think that was
to answer your question, Steve. So essentially what happened was, like you said, they went and interviewed all these people who, first of all, I thought they were going for a montage-esque thing, but they didn't really do a montage. Yeah, they just kept doing it, right? So they were talking to all these people who battled Dragon, like, oh, he was like this and always like that. And their whole premise behind how they were determining who might be Dragon, and it wasn't them only who thought this. It was like the zeitgeist or whatever. Like people in general had identified.
Everyone wanted to know.
Identified these
suspects,
different suspects, and it was because the assumption was that if the biometric scan bases it's how you look off of who you really are.
Yeah.
They said that, oh, the artist already has these tattoos, and he keeps adding them, so that might be it. Or it has to be somebody athletic who is able to beat up a lot of people.
Fast and strong. Yeah.
And a lot of people assume that this baseball player has a dark past, so maybe those bruises represent his evil nature. And then the weird mom one, I did not figure out what in the world they were talking about with her. Like,
me either.
I that's the only one that didn't make any sense to me. But that was the premise. But like you said, I think it went way too long. Like, I guess they're trying to make us, I don't know, it was like a red herring type of thing. But it was
for sure
also clear, like, that none of those people was the Beast. Like,
but then, like, they came back to those people, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. So the baseball player revealed, like, I don't have bruises. I have all these scars because I was raped. Because I
had surgery as a kid.
Had an injury. Yeah, I had all these surgeries as a child.
Yeah.
And he, like, used it to, like, raise awareness for the disease that he had. And the mom reappeared as well. And
it's a weird
I
baby.
guess they had some sort of lesson about being an attention seeker.
Yeah, she was out for herself. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was weird. I'm like, what's the point of bringing these people back in? I don't care about them.
Like, we kind of already knew that. But what was even more stranger to me about that is that later in the movie, we had already determined that these were not the people. The artist was lying about his girlfriend's death, or he was just being an artist. The mommy blogger was just a weird baby thing, jerk woman. And then, like you said, the baseball player revealed his scars. But then there was a moment later in the movie where Suzu independently had the same conversation in her head when she was like trying to think about who the dragon was. She was like, it can't be the mommy blogger because of this. And it can't be the baseball player because of this. And it can't be the artist because of this. And I was like, we've already determined this. Like,
yeah, we've been here
15 minutes ago. Why are you re-evaluating this? Like,
why do you like this, Suzu?
But they did throw in a lot of, I think they wanted to really throw us off and drive home the mystery, which in a way I appreciate, because I feel like in the Disney version especially, like there isn't any mystery behind who the Beast is, because we don't ever see him in a meaningful way before.
There's no alter egos in the Disney
and they tell you who he is.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's a prince.
The prince,
an unnamed, unknowable.
But they show his picture. It's like, here's the prince. This is who he was. Boom.
His painting or something like on the wall. Yeah. And so I appreciate that they add that little element, because it's like, well, you don't know his motivations behind anything, and like when you actually do find out who he is, they have it's a strong opportunity to reveal a very interesting character, especially if it's someone that you saw before, which I think that it paid off super well for that, because they really brought it around. Because you could think it was one of these random people. At one point, me and Mrs. Yams were like, is it Shinobu? Does he have a dark side people don't know about, but it's only in the metaverse?
Yeah.
Or is it, and so it was fun to speculate in that little time.
I think we all thought it must be Shinobu, because we thought that she was in love with the Beast.
Yeah.
And it seemed clear that she liked Shinobu, and we're like, this can only end well in one way. We were misled.
So
it was good.
I did like I feel like Brad's about to ask. I did like the reveal about who it was and how that worked out.
So I don't know. Maybe it's because I had watched a whole bunch of sci-fi movies right before this. But to me, it was very obvious that it was none of the people, the red herrings, and it wasn't Shinobu.
Of course.
Because
sure.
The reason I didn't think it was Shinobu is because it was too on the nose and too obvious. And
it was so obvious. There was no way.
And the one thing about this movie is like, that I could tell was like, oh, they are trying to tell you something deeper. It's kind of like all over the place right now, but they got a goal here, and it has something to do with it. And what made me figure out that it was likely a child was in that scene while you were doing the ice cream, they show these clips of all these children saying like, the Beast is so cool, he's so awesome, or whatever, right? And then, and this is where I was like, oh, I think I know who it may be, was that they show us a random scene. I don't really know why these people got interviewed. I don't know how that all came together. Plot device.
Right.
They showed the family who had just lost their mother, right? Mm-hmm. And it was a child and his brother and the dad was like, we're so thankful to da-da-da. I don't know what he was talking about. And then it showed the kind of autistic child separately speaking about how like the Beast is such a
his hero.
So I was like, what are the chances that this autistic seeming child is Beast?
I thought that for a second too.
I was like, there's like a 50% chance. But the reason I feel like they got me and why I didn't figure it out until later was because when they showed the scene with the dad, they were quick enough that I didn't notice the brother really. Like I didn't like
he had the same hair.
I didn't realize how emo he was. I didn't realize and like later in the movie
how long his snout was.
Later in the movie they kind of show him again. I said, "Oh, that's him." Clearly. Like once it kind of, but I was like, if I had noticed it earlier, I would have been like, oh, but I figured it had something to do. I was like, it's probably a child because all the kids love him, but I wasn't sure what child. And I was like, maybe they're just going to pull somebody out of nowhere. Like, but I was like, oh, but this is also a fantasy sci-fi movie, and sci-fi movies love doing a thing where they show you the answer really early in the movie and you just didn't have the context to know that it was the answer, you know? So
I've been burned enough by these movies to where I didn't trust them. So I was okay with in the realm that it was in the realm of possibilities that it was going to be a random character we hadn't met before, or that it was going to be on the nose and be Shinobu so they can have like, a lovingly plotted out thing at the end where it's like, oh, I didn't know you felt this way, Shinobu. It's like, yeah, when your mom died, it really hurt my heart. So that's why I became the Beast online, but I'm nice in front of everyone. And you saved me, Suzu, or something. And I was like, okay, I guess this is the route they're going. Yeah, be corny. But fortunately, they didn't do that.
Yeah.
So I don't think I connected it to the Beast, but I think either me or someone in our group, when that interview was playing with the dad, again, I don't really know I don't remember the context for that because we were kind of chit-chatting a little bit, but, which by the way, I feel really bad about. I hate chit-chatting during movies, but sometimes you just can't help it.
Shame on you.
No, shame on your cow. But yeah, I definitely saw that dad and I was like, oh, he abuses his kids for sure. Like, there's something about him immediately just set me off. I was like, that's a bad guy. But I didn't think anything was going to come of it. I just thought it was supposed to be like, okay, that was
weird,
sketchy dad,
kind of dad situation. Yeah. But yeah, once they showed the autistic child more than once, I said, oh, it has something to do with him. And then I was like, he's the angel. Like the minute the angel showed up, I was like, oh, he's the angel. So who's the Beast? That was what I was trying to figure out. I was like, who is connected to him?
Right.
But I missed that there was
the dad.
If it would have been the dad,
that would have been wild. But he was definitely a beast of his own. Okay, so
sharing an account with his son.
Okay, so they go through that. They show all this stuff. We have all the storyline. The Beast and Belle are going back and forth. They have their moments together. So we get the first moment where, okay, so the flowers, right? So the arbitrary flowers. Who knows what's going on with that? It's just some weird flower garden. And she gets the red rose or whatever. Then she goes up and finds the Beast somewhere in his mansion, up on the balcony.
It was like on a platform, which I'm like, isn't that exposed to everybody? Why did you need a secret passage to get up there?
So you go up there, they go up there because
everybody can fly sometimes,
and they can fly, which is also just weird. I'm like, it was
inconsistent.
Just fly around the perimeter. So they're talking, and he's talking in his weird Dark Knight Batman voice. I was like, please stop. Like, just
bro,
go home, get out of here. I was like,
he had to be edgy.
Please get another voice actor for Beast, and then just.
He doesn't need to be a good singer.
So they didn't pay that man.
He did it for free for V-Bucks. So
oh my god,
for V, even worse. But I'd rather do it for free. So they're having a conversation. And like, I can't remember the first interaction. Did it immediately become the first interaction? She left, right? Like he gets angry and she leaves or something.
I don't know if it was the first interaction, but at some point that does happen.
Yeah, because then there was an interaction where they're on they have the dance or something. to be honest, like their
kind of
story together is just seemed very arbitrary. They might as well just did a time skip and just like showed them dancing in the ballroom, and that would have been good enough.
I honestly think they must have done a time skip. Well, this reminds me, the first time skip they did, they show like, oh, the girl can sing in You. That's incredible. And then suddenly she's famous and her friend knows about it. And
right.
Is like her manager.
That was like,
jarring. So I was like, oh, when is she gonna tell her friend that she's Belle? But the friend already knew. We missed it.
This is what happened, and I was super confused as well. But I was like, I need to figure out what's happened because I'm mad confused. So the very beginning, right? She's being depressed and she's on the bridge. Hero sends her the invite to You, right? It says, hey, you should join because your life is trash, right? So she decides to join. So Hero's the only person that knows who she is, right? That's her only friend. Remember, like at the very beginning, she's looking at her followers, and the first follower is Hero. And Hero says at some point, I'm going to support you or something like that. Like, and
oh, good point. Yeah.
And Hero is crazy. Like, and what Hero did in the background and why she got all the followers is that she made all those videos.
Right. Spread everything around.
Spread it.
Yeah.
And then.
But it wasn't clear until like 30 minutes after.
A long time.
Yeah. I figured out a little bit faster just because once Hero was like, oh, I made you all these outfits and I did all this stuff.
Yeah, at that point.
I mean, that was directly after that moment, remember? It was like...
No, that was like 5 minutes. That was like several scenes
later.
It
was the same conversation, but it wasn't immediate.
Because basically what happened was she got really popular, right? She got millions of views, and then she went to Hero, and Hero was like, yeah, girl, that was because of me. You know, here's all these dresses.
So it wasn't 30 minutes. I was exaggerating. But that was not directly after. There were like 2 or 3 scenes before that conversation in Hero's room, and then the next she gets in trouble for using her dad's computer or something. But like whatever that conversation happened, it was like a couple scenes after. It was at least 5 or 10 minutes after.
It seemed pretty soon after to me, but maybe it's.
I mean, it was soon enough.
Maybe I was just super focused on that. I was just thinking to myself, how does any of this make any sense? Because especially since everybody was like, man, this girl trash. Stop singing, please stop singing. Bro,
that was the best moment. It made me think about, like, because I feel like they kind of poked fun at Disney movies in that moment, because it's like, yeah, these main characters in their own stories just burst into song. I think everybody else around can hear the background music. I feel like this would be the genuine response. Like, it don't matter how good you can sing. Nobody knows. Where'd you even come from? You just out here screaming. It was, that part had me rolling too. I was like, this is the most genuine reaction to somebody breaking out into random song.
Like immediately logging in and just immediately singing into like the noob, like
you level 1. Zone. This is how you get booted
in the Spawn city in the MMO.
Report.
Like
it definitely is genuine, but I don't want to say it's like a dig or that it's especially innovative or clever that they did that, because I think pretty much every modern story that involves the internet or crowds of people has a pretty good understanding of, some people are for things and some people are just trolls. There's always someone on every like internet forum in any movie that's like, that's not real. I can do that. My grandpa works at Nintendo. Like there's always somebody.
It reminds me of One Punch Man with that nerdy guy. It's like, actually, all of these people, and like everybody, and then like One Punch Man is like, now I gotta do this differently.
But I think even other than that, weren't there scenes in One Punch Man where like there's an internet forum or something and they're talking about
like, like what's going on?
Some guy is out there like, he sucks.
Yeah.
I hate him.
Yeah, there's always haters. So speaking of haters, there's that one character, Peggy Sue.
Peggy Sue.
Like the popular girl before. Like,
yeah.
I still don't fully like. It's kind of like we were talking about earlier. Like some things just needed to be like a what you call it?
Fleshed out a little.
Exposition dump.
No, the thing we were just saying, like where it's just like a montage or something, like a little bit quicker.
Oh yeah.
Because I was like, I get that Peggy Sue's popular and like she hates on Belle, but like also that seemed completely irrelevant to the story. Like,
yeah,
it just. And then at the.
I think Peggy Sue maybe was supposed to embody all the haters.
Okay.
And when she finally came around at the end, it was like everyone's coming around. But they definitely could have done that without her. Like, I agree. Totally unnecessary.
They didn't utilize her enough. Like,
at all.
They tried to make it seem like she was going to be more antagonistic. But then she just got thrown to the side because of Justin. She just
shows up later and is like,
hey, I'm back.
I like her.
I thought that they were going to reveal that she was the girl that was stuck at the river. Like at the end when everybody was singing and crying, I was like, oh. And then Peggy Sue was like, oh, she's a girl just like me.
Just like me.
I thought there was going to be some sort of big reveal about what her identity was too.
Oh, you mean the girl that her mom died saving?
Yeah.
I mean, that would be wild. That would have been wild.
That'd be bonkers.
I actually think that line, like you said, was kind of wasted. Because I think it was super cool that she's like, she's just a regular girl like me. Like, if they had somehow... Because they did everybody else pretty well. They kind of showed you who they were, right? But there's no clue who Peggy Sue is. Like, it's...
Yeah.
Like, it's
plus, like... Anyone in the crowd could have been a disembodied voice. She's just a girl like me, and I would have been like, "That's really good." Like, there's no reason to have Peggy Sue.
No.
Yeah. But also, okay, are we gonna also talk about how I don't know if it was me, but that last performance she gave, where she like revealed herself, seemed very long. Like, I can't remember what the song. First of all of the song lyrics, maybe it was just like translations. But like, there's no rhyming words. It was just,
it's the translation.
It was the translations. You know, positive.
But they did a good job of making the songs, English,
coherent at least.
They didn't do what some things do, where they're just like, the song is Japanese. You're just gonna accept that.
Like, I almost wish they had, because I was reading subtitles anyway. So I'm like, let me just.
Nah, it's immersion breaking to me. Because, like, I prefer if you're going to put the time in to have quality voice actors, which I think they did.
They certainly did, yeah. They made a good decision. I think it would have been fine.
Yeah.
So, speaking of that, one of the big draws for this movie I mentioned already was supposed to be the music. And I heard that, like, they put as much effort into the English dubs and translations as they did into the Japanese, like, dubs, Japanese singing, and it definitely showed. Unfortunately, the translations are a little wonky, but it's hard to write music that rhymes and is meaningful and in two languages. So I get that.
It was never bad to me.
It was never bad.
Yeah,
I don't remember thinking it was long necessarily. Maybe I was just too wrapped up in the moment.
Yeah, the last show it was. But I think it was extended because it was kind of broken up by moments that were taking place. Like, everybody had to get involved. Like, she sang the whole song. Then everybody else was like, oh, this is really emotional. We should start singing La-Las together.
Yeah.
And then that went on for another couple of minutes. Yeah.
And it seemed weird to me. Maybe it was already weird to me because I'm like, okay, she's singing for her man. That's not a man.
For her boy. Like, for her boy.
What is this really doing? Is kind of where I was coming from. Like, why are we doing this?
I thought the last scene was great. I really enjoyed it. It just seemed long. And that's why I kept saying, like, it ended multiple times. Because to me, like, it felt like the type of thing where it was so big and triumphant and, hey, I've revealed myself. Here I am. I support you. I'm here. And then, like, the way that they do him going like, I see you and I believe you now, kind of came really far after everybody was like, oh my gosh, that's her, and like da-da-da-da.
Right.
And then it just kind of cut to him going like, oh, you are real. And then like, she rushes off. But it just, not that it was bad, it just felt very like the movie was long in general. So to me, at the end, it was kind of feeling like, okay, we're here. When is this going to actually end?
Yeah, because it would ramp up, then settle a bit, then ramp up, then settle a bit. Yeah, so it was kind of the last like 30 minutes was a roller coaster.
Roller coaster.
So what was the actual ending? I can't actually remember. What was the last scene in the movie?
Let me list some things, and you can tell me what comes last because I don't remember. She goes home. She has a normal conversation with her dad for the first time the entire movie.
Yeah.
Most absent dad in the movie for sure. Not to his, not that he didn't try, but dang,
my man,
they really
he was the real MVP.
He was just consistent. He just kept.
Yeah. That's the last thing I remember, actually, was her talking to her dad.
Yeah, she got off the train. She talked to everyone else a little bit, too. She had another conversation with Shinobu about something.
Oh, yeah.
Like at sunset or something like that. Yeah.
I don't remember.
It just had a lot of black screens, so I can't remember.
I know. Yeah.
Like, because I think it was Shinobu. I think the last one was Shinobu on the river or something.
Mm-hmm.
He you know what it was? He was saying like, okay, well, now that you're good, I can relax.
Yeah.
He immediately became like more friendly.
Like,
and that's when I realized that the voice actor is the guy from The Good Place.
From The Good Place. No, in the middle of the movie, like he's, especially at the end when he's like, go for her, do it, or whatever. I was like, I know that voice. Like, I was like, I know that voice. And I had to stop. And then I turned over to Shiley. I was like, it's Jason Mendoza. And she just was like, oh my gosh, it is.
Once you hear it.
He just has a certain tonality. Like, just kind of flat. It's flat, like.
I half expected him to invite Suzu to his butthole.
You want to come to my butthole? Excuse me?
Nani?
You done messed up my head. Yeah, the ending, I think, just to all movie people, don't do the black screen thing too much. I'd prefer you to just fade through or something, or
just transition,
but like black 3 to 4 seconds. Maybe it wasn't 3 to 4 seconds, but it felt like a long time.
It felt like a long time.
It felt like a very long time.
It felt like the end of the movie, genuinely.
Yeah, like black and then nothing, and then we're back. Black.
Yeah.
We're back, you know.
They're counting on us to have been trained by Marvel to never get up until the movie stops.
Yeah.
And then they didn't do anything in the credits, so
there was no post credits.
No, I watched the credits because I said, "Oh, the movie's not over yet." Just like one more.
He's like, I paid for this movie. I'm gonna watch every minute of it.
Real talk. That's the realist. Like
They just show a video of Justin's real life counterpart trying to get his sponsors back.
Bro, I would have paid double to see that at the end.
Or if
like his real,
his real self, and it just reveals that it's like her dad or something.
Like, he was like some super dweeb.
It was just her dad, just being a jerk in the game.
But he didn't know she was Belle the whole time.
He didn't know who Belle was. He didn't know anything about the Beast. He's just like, we don't know anything about his character up to that point, because all we know is he tries to talk to her and she blows him off.
Like, literally.
He could be a total, Reddit mod, and we would never know up to that point.
One thing that I thought was interesting was when the moment happened, the moment where she's running to go, to the final reveal of who she is, but everybody around her knew it was her, right?
Yeah, they were like, "Oh, what's up?"
Like, "Oh,
without
that's
hesitation."
Like, "Oh yeah, that's clearly like oh, that's like, it's like if Superman like everybody knows you're Clark Kent. Like, you're not even hiding. You just put a little swirly in your hair, like."
Mm-hmm. My favorite part was the old ladies knew the whole time. That was great.
Yeah,
that was a pretty sweet moment.
They were like, yeah, that's clearly Suzu. So let's go tell her.
They probably recognized her songs.
Yeah, her singing. I mean, she always la-la-las everything. So it's kind of like, oh, that's her calling card.
But in all seriousness, she actually wrote like all the songs that she released as Belle were her original writings. Mm-hmm. And they probably recognized those songs.
It was hard to tell because they kind of played up that she didn't sing around them, or really she would come to the rehearsals, but I guess wasn't particularly involved ever since her mom died. Mm-hmm. So it was hard for me to, I guess, understand just how much they knew what was going on in her life.
My interpretation. Sorry, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say I guess it stands to reason though, if they heard her sing before, and if there was 5 billion people or whatever they said are using you, then they would put it together outside of that.
And my interpretation is that she was a child, right? She was like 3, 4, 5 when her mom passed, right? but she's been continually going to those practices until she was 17, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I doubt that she just shows up and doesn't sing, and I feel like she might have been just in a mood. Like the moment when they showed her like, hey, come on, like sing, Suzu. Like she was just feeling herself, she was in a teenage mood, and they're just like, come on, Suzu, sing. We know you're capable. We know, and like you said, Steve, like she made a lot of original music. And even if she didn't share the music that she made in You with them, they knew how she sung. They know her style. You know what I'm saying? Like you hear Ariana Grande sing or something, most people probably, I don't know her like that, but I bet you most people would be able to know if Ariana Grande made a new album, but just called it like Leroy Jackson. Like they'd be like, oh, that's Ariana Grande. You know what I'm saying?
They would cancel Leroy Jackson for stealing.
So
I have a character that I felt like needed more attention in the movie, and that was Suzu's dog.
She had a dog?
A little puppy that only had one, or he was missing a paw. And he would be like sitting outside with her.
A few scenes.
I was like, I want to know his story, man. Like, what happened? Who hurt this dog?
Did the dog slam into a river to save a puppy and lost him?
I slammed my paw in the car door.
Wow.
Sorry. But, so to me, that's actually something I liked about it. And kind of like going back to what you said, Kyle, where it's just like they just dropped you into a story and they were like, we're not going to explain anything to you.
Yeah.
Like, like this is just what it is.
On that hand, I do appreciate it.
Yeah. It felt more real than them going, oh, my little puppy who lost his hand in a rat trap or something, my favorite in movies is always the overdue bills. It's the best way to do it. Instead of somebody saying, I have overdue bills, to just show a shot of their kitchen table with, the pink notice. Final notice. Like, it's just a trope now, but it's still better.
It gets the point across in an instant. So it's like, if it ain't broke, like, stop making poor characters if you don't want to use it.
Make all of your characters fluent.
Oh, speaking of poor characters, so what we were talking about earlier, when they were, remember that scene when everybody had their phones and it was like these weird live streams with the phone interviews and they were going back and forth? Yeah. There was a reference to Batman in there.
What?
Yeah, like somebody spoke up and they were like, we need more billionaires. And then it immediately switched off.
What?
Yeah.
Is that a reference to Batman, though?
So they did it in like the gravelly voice, and it kind of connected. It seemed like a Batman reference. You have to go listen to it.
Like as if Bruce got on and was like, we need more billionaires.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. I mean, I can't say Batman, but that's hilarious nonetheless.
I totally missed that. So this is kind of random, but it was, I was trying to understand the technology of the time. Like, it seemed very weird. Like, the weird phone conversation was kind of strange to me. Like, I was trying to understand how that was working. But even more so,
what conversation?
How was they had like Twitch live streaming where you could like call the person.
Right.
And they could talk to you.
Oh, yeah. You mean at the end when she calls?
But it wasn't clear if he could see them. Or
I choose to believe that this was a service that does not exist in our world.
Okay.
That basically like Omegle, but instead of random chat rooms or random webcam meetups, it's you can like see someone and pick them out and talk to them.
Yeah.
But they can't see you?
You can see each other. It's webcam.
Yeah, they can see each other. Her camera was on. He saw her.
Because he would have saw her, Hero,
and everyone else
standing in the background.
Yeah, he did. I think I don't know how much of them he saw, but yes, I agree. He should have seen.
Oh yeah, we didn't see.
But even seeing her, he wouldn't trust her until he saw her face. That's why he trusts her when he sees her face in You.
Oh,
because he
just saw her face on the person. Webcam. Ah, okay, there you go. See, that's the connection. Freckles. I just assumed he was like, oh, it's just a girl, and she revealed herself. But that makes more sense. Like, oh, like you're that person. Okay, that's cool. But it's also we got to talk about how Hero was basically Morgan Freeman in the original Batman.
In the Batman's
in Dark Knight. Well, no.
In the Dark Knight, yeah.
Because she was able to basically listen to every user simultaneously and also somehow isolate that, this little boy was humming the tune.
Right.
Like, I was like, this girl needs to work for Batman.
Well, was it Hero who did that, or was it your girl, Suzu? I thought she was the one who was like, wait, let me listen.
Yeah, because Hero said, I'm listening to every person who's connected to this session right now.
Yeah.
And I heard somebody singing this song.
That song, though?
Yeah. So it was very strange. I mean, Hero is clearly a problem.
Ruka did something similar with the investigative
They definitely
chops.
were inconsistent.
Yeah. Technology is it's definitely the future, right? But it also kind of felt modern, like today.
I didn't think it was too far in the future. I thought it was pretty much modern tech, aside from you itself and the earbuds.
I want to know how those earbuds work, man. Like that.
I love how Japan just keeps moving. Let's make the deep dive tech from Sword Art Online even more impressive. One of the I guess you could say inconsistencies of Summer Wars, which I won't spoil it anyway because I still insist that you all watch it. But like I said, it also takes place in a virtual world, very extensive, very embedded in the social
fabric
universe. Yeah, but that doesn't have any sort of they don't bother explaining how people are actually experiencing. So I say it's like VR to us, the viewer, but to the characters, it seems like they're just on their computers or on their cell phones.
Oh, so it's just like a visualization of the world.
Yeah,
for our sake.
For our sake, exactly. But no one's putting on, deep dive helmets or fancy earbuds. It's just people on their computers or in some cases on their cell phones, which is fine. It was cool. I think that worked really well because you didn't have problems like, hey, how is she running and interacting with the game at the same time?
Yeah.
You just kind of accept. It's kind of what was that movie you were talking about? Was it Sucker Punch? Sucker Punch is kind of like that, where it's visualizing something for in her mind or whatever. But it's
we're experiencing. She's experiencing the reality of what's happening, in a very heightened, stylized way. Yeah,
I did find it really cool that they decided to bridge, because not even Sword Art does, where they have two distinct art styles to show the real world and the virtual world. And so for having the virtual world in 3D, I know it's not a new concept. I think Digimon was probably one of the first ones to do it. Whereas they show a lot of 3D stuff to show that, this is the digital world now. But to go all in and do that for every experience, it really made it seem, besides the characters looking completely different, really made it seamless to know, when you were looking at virtual stuff versus what's going on.
That's another reason I liked Summer Wars better. I think the 3D art in You is bad.
Oh, in
whereas
comparison?
Summer Wars looked really great. Yeah, they still used I think it was mostly 2D. It didn't feel grossly 3D. Whereas looking at Belle's model just kind of hurt my eyes.
Well, I actually was thinking about it. Most of it was 2D in the world, right? In You.
Mm-hmm.
There was a moment where I think it was at the end when they revealed her as who she was, and it switched from the 2D to a 3D model, and it was rotating her, and I was like, ooh, this is kind of not good. And then they cut back to 2D. I was like, thank you. That was the only time I really
some of the
noticed
art,
it.
Some of the environment art in the real world was just gorgeous.
Oh,
so pretty.
All the backgrounds were immaculate Like they didn't have to go that hard, but they did.
And then compare that to like the scenes of You, where it was just really noisy and cluttered, and I guess that's fine, no big deal. But yeah, the 3D art models really. When 3D Belle bothered me, 3D Beast.
I mean, her proportions were weird, but I don't know. It felt like it was stylistic choices, but I don't know. I think it's up for.
Well, she wasn't. I don't think she was always 3D. Maybe she was. I don't know, but yeah, I think it was stylized. I think that's a choice. That's fine.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I didn't notice it that much until that moment. Now thinking back on it, I'm like, oh yeah, I guess there are more 3D elements, but I thought they did a pretty good job of kind of like you said, Kyle, differentiating between the real world. Like you said, it was so beautifully done. Like the drawings, the characters, the backgrounds, just everything just felt like, even when they were in like the little room with all the like the choir room. I was kind of like, wow, this is really detailed. Like, they're really making this feel like a real used choir room, you know? Like, somebody's been at choir practice before, you know?
Yeah, the set design was great. I feel like one thing that helped also bridge the 2D and the 3D was that they used a lot of rotoscoping for, like, the really, I guess, the high movement 2D action.
Did they? I didn't notice that.
Oh, yeah. For sure. A lot of it would happen, especially at the school, when there was a bunch of people around. You can really notice it there.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, overall, I thought the style and the visual elements, I mean, I would say next to the music, I think that they just delivered beautiful movie with beautiful sound. The dubbing was great, you know. You know, we had a whole discussion about how dubbing has gotten so much better now that there's money in
voice
anime.
acting.
Yeah, you know, like that the American audience really it's a broader audience now. It's like, this is awesome, you know. Before there's just good luck. It was hit or miss.
4 kids paved the way.
4 children. It should have been just good call. Like, yeah,
those
we're doing
underpaid Dragon Ball Z actors.
We're doing voice acting for the kids. Like, they'll be all right.
I want to be a voice actor when I grow up.
Hey, I would like to be a voice actor too. You know, hey, we talk on the podcast all the time. We got the chops.
That's basically voice acting.
Absolutely.
I can be the character who's going through puberty just indefinitely. Voice always
I think you would have done a better job at Shinobu than Jason Mendoza. I think you would have been a good Shinobu.
You don't think I would have been a good
Kamishin
or whatever his name was?
No.
Kamishin?
I like the only part that I think you connected with Kamishin was some of his movements. Overall, Kamishin was just an odd character. I don't think you're him, like, personality wise. But I think you would do a good job of Shinobu, especially like because he's a very like kind of straight character. And I think you could hit that delivery pretty well.
If I can do anything, I can underact.
I'm underacting now, you know.
I'm doing it right now.
But so you know, we're kind of, you know, toward the end of the episode here. So, any last thoughts before we wrap it up on Belle and, you know, the experience and, you know, what you got from it?
Did they ever
people? Ooh.
Go ahead.
The people who did the soundtrack for Belle, specifically the song Millennium Parade, which I think is like the theme song in the movie, I think, are also the ones who did the song for season 1 of the new Ghost in the Shell. And it hurts me deeply that that's true, because I like Millennium Parade. I like, maybe the band is called Millennium Parade. I don't know, whatever. I like that song from Belle, and I hate that song from Ghost in the Shell.
Snap.
It's so cloying and obnoxious.
Wait, what season from Ghost in the Shell did they do? Both?
They did the first the first season of the new
one
show.
You know,
yeah.
I actually liked the song, to just be honest. I actually liked it. Because I remember you saying it, and I was like, maybe he's thinking of something else.
The one, Money Makes the World Go Round, that's the one you like?
Yeah, I just thought it was a different vibe. I think the show was different. We should I'd love to do a deep dive on that, newer.
That song.
I actually really don't want to because I'm not gonna have anything good to say.
But I like the new seasons of Ghost in the Shell. I thought it was, the ending was interesting, but I thought it was a good, follow up.
I liked everything pretty much until the last 10 or 12 episodes. So most of the second season, I was like, this is bad, outright bad.
I would say the second season had the weaker part of it, but anyway,
for sure.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm completely taking you off the point that you were trying to make about.
Yeah. Well, there you go. They made the song that you also like from season 1 of Ghost in the Shell.
Hey.
Okay. Senior Kyle, you were saying something?
Yeah. First off, I want to say that I appreciate this movie, the writers, whoever wrote the story, giving some love to our marching band community, especially the sax players. I was a sax player in marching band. So for Ruka to be talk of the school and also be, I'm thinking she might have been the drum major because she was standing in front of everybody and she was playing the sax. I'm about it. Second thing is, I actually have a question that I might have missed it. So they said that avatars in U are called ASs.
I believe.
Did they ever explain what that means?
Oh.
No.
If they did, it would have been in the very beginning, but I don't remember it ever coming up.
No, they definitively did not, because I specifically was because I knew, because at the very beginning of the show, they do the premise of oh, this is a new you and blah, blah, blah. I was like, cool. Yeah. I'm interested to know what this acronym is. They never explained it. Maybe I'm crazy, but
maybe it's alternate selves.
Oh,
that wouldn't be a bad one.
But yeah, that reminds me again that I already said this, but not just the hardware, but they really made you seem low-key threatening.
They did.
Come, join us. Come, be better.
Yes, bro, that
come, die to your old
frightening.
Self. And
it definitely felt like they're gonna take your soul 100%. Or
I choose. You know what? That's my headcanon now. Is the AIs are like the souls of people who have died playing this game.
Zuckerberg is going to use that same way to promote his. Watch.
Come, enter the metaverse.
He's just going to rip off Belle.
Be a better you. Come, do all your meetings in metaverse. Goodness.
Join us.
You
know what else? A last thought. I thought it was really silly that when she joins you, she types her name Belle, just Bell.
Mm-hmm.
And then later, so the movie is Belle, like the French word.
Mm-hmm.
And it means beauty. And at some point in the movie, some random faceless person goes, shouldn't it be spelled Bel with an E at the end? I was like, is that beauty? Really where they're getting the title of this movie from?
Yeah.
Why?
A throwaway line. It bothered me when she did that because I was like, no, she's obviously they're just playing this up for a dramatic effect. She's going to type that last E.
Exactly.
And she was like, confirmed.
She never did.
Yeah.
Maybe they wanted to call her the beauty without actually having her call herself beauty, because that's what that would have meant, is that she wrote, I'm Belle. But instead she wrote, I'm Belle. And someone else made her Belle.
Yeah. And I actually thought that was kind of cool, because if you think about it, the whole world was on this game, because they kind of showed the diversity of somebody's in the US and somebody's here. So it kind of makes sense that somebody would from another place would be like, why is her name Belle? That doesn't make any sense. And if Beauty and the Beast did exist in the world, it kind of feels like it would naturally progress to that. Belle. They didn't say Beauty and the Beast, but they said, oh, it's beautiful in French. But I don't know. I thought it was okay.
Don't forgive this movie.
Never forgive. So my last thoughts, I have two thoughts. I don't know if y'all remember this, but when she was doing her performance before Dragon showed up, I laughed because she had this dress that was made of diamonds, and then it reformed and separated, and all I could think of was Knack. I was like, is her dress Knack?
Yo.
So I was.
It was blue, PlayStation Blue.
Oh my gosh!
It completely took me out the moment. It took me out of the moment so hard.
Knack 3 confirmed, baby.
I was like, why they do Knack like this? Now he's just devoted to somebody's dress.
If your avatar is like randomly generated, there is somebody running around there that looks like Knack.
Looking like Knack. Pants on the ground.
Little goblin.
And my other thought was, did y'all notice that the girl Belle was a track star? Like, she ran so fast in that movie. There's a moment where like
we were laughing about
like
it.
When Shinobu's across the street or something, she's like, she books it in a way that she could keep up with cars, right? Like, and Shinobu's like, where'd she go? And there's another moment where like something happens and she runs off screen, like out of the scene, but like the person tried to keep up with her a little bit, but she was gone. Shailene called her Usain Belle. I said, that's
that's pretty good.
Yeah, I was like, she has another, like, if singing don't work out for her, she good. She can go to the legs. That girl was fast. When she was on the river running to the school, she was sprinting, like, she full ran all the way there.
She wasn't breathing hard or anything after.
She came in, like, hey, what's up, y'all? Y'all good? Like, we took a car here.
You made me think of something super important just now, though. I wanted to bring it up earlier, but the idea of watching this movie with the group, I can't agree with more, because I feel like there are like a lot of emotional moments and a lot of different things. So not only for the confusing bits, but like for when things are happening. Because I watched it with Mrs. Jams, and like the things that were really like emotionally charged, and the stories, and like the places where you can kind of connect with the heartache that she's going through, the traumatic moments, and then the subtle things that they had in there, things that I wasn't necessarily picking up on, she would kind of call out and mention, and it made the movie that much better for me to be able to, I guess, see it through her eyes. So definitely recommend watching this movie in a group, at least with one other person.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was just a different experience than sitting and watching it by myself. And then even like this movie is kind of like, if you do have a significant other, it is a good like kind of, like a date movie. Like I think Steve did it right. Like this is a good like emotional, but kind of has a little funny moment, especially in the middle. It's kind of cute. Kind of reminds you of like what your relationship was when it first started. This awkward like, I like you, you like me, and trying to figure it out. Like it just felt, I don't know. I feel like it's a good one. And then I think even if you're not a anime fan, yes, it's very anime-esque and, Justin and all the weird stuff.
It's got its moments.
I think it was a good one to watch with people. I enjoyed it. I'm happy I did that. Overall.
Good suggestion, Steve.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys liked it.
Oh, also one of the guys who was a fan of Chizu, he had Summer War on DVD, and I was telling him like, man, I don't know where to watch Summer War. He's like, oh, we should do a movie night to watch Summer War. So we're probably gonna do that, an anime movie.
You haven't seen it, right?
You
haven't seen Summer War, right?
No, I have not. I have not seen.
Yes, bro. I'm gonna watch it again. I'm probably just gonna buy it just to have it
before it gets delisted from the internet, because it seems like it's like Belle's gonna go away eventually. So you better watch it now.
Yeah, these cheesy movies are hard to track down.
Oh, gotta preserve them.
I did want to talk about this before we end. I know we're going a little bit deeper into the closing on the 2-hour mark, but we really didn't talk much about K, the Beast himself, and his situation, and like,
wow, we did not,
and like what was going on with him, because we have this character, this 14-year-old, which I try to think of it as like, this is the Fortnite tryhard, right? Like he's 14, he has nothing else to do but play this game.
Yeah.
And he's good at it naturally. So he's just going to keep getting better. And then he's also an angsty teen. So he's just going to do jerk things. He's trolling. He's griefing people. You know what I'm saying?
But he's
getting out some aggression.
The game made him strong in the game because it recognized that he had a strong spirit.
And protecting his brother. Which is interesting that his brother was just like this little blob.
Wisp.
Like
a waif.
Like, hello. Like, just simple geometry. Defenseless, But we have this thing where, like, Dragon is this young kid murdering people in battle, angsty teen. He had a very emo look, and his castle was emo, and Beast was emo. But it's so interesting to me that, like, at the end of the day, he's just like this kid, and he basically needed another child to protect him. You know, like, it was just an interesting, like,
somebody. What he talked about, he said, like, people had come into his life, adults and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But they let him down.
He did on that rant. I'll help you. I'll help you. I'll help you.
Oh, yeah. That was a very.
That was kind of a cringy rant.
Yeah. It's very.
It was intense.
Yeah.
He did it. I think he did it a few too many times for it to really.
I help you.
The first time he did it, I was like, "What was that?" And then the second time, I was like, "Oh, I get it." But then he just kept doing it.
It probably rolls off the tongue a little better in Japanese.
I was gonna say the same thing. It probably feels better, and maybe also sense. Because of, like, similar to why Bruises doesn't connect to us. Maybe that doesn't connect to us.
That's a good point.
You know, but
and speaking of his, I guess, you know, him being a part of the game. One of the things that they kind of glossed over too was that during his winnings, it said the only times that he lost was when he was distracted, and so it's like you can assume it was because his dad came into the room, but was it because he was taking care of his brother? Who knows? And so that was another thing I think was pretty interesting about his character, is that even though he was driven to win all these matches and be good at the game, there was something that was still a bit more important to him that you didn't know about at first.
His brother. Yeah, and it's not clear if his father only was emotionally abusive, because from the video you see, he's just yelling at him, right? I thought they were going to show him hit him, like, in the back, you know, because he was, like, protecting his brother, and I figured that's where the bruises would come in. But it was purely emotional damage that was showing up on his back as he's protecting his brother and all of that. But it's clear that his dad is also a physical person.
Yeah, he's willing to get physical.
Because he grabbed some random person. He didn't know who she was. And he grabbed her hard enough to scratch her face. Like,
who grabbed somebody by the face?
By the face, and scratched her face deep enough where blood was dripping. And then, you know, then he sees this little girl, a 17-year-old girl, and then he cocks the fist and literally is just debating, you know, I'm going to punch you in the mouth, you know, and screaming at her like a wild animal, you know, like.
Yeah.
I wonder, because in that moment, I guess, like you said, there wasn't any evidence that he had been physical before that point. So I'm wondering if he was just, I guess, ramping up, and maybe that was the first time he'd gotten physical because he had to be. And this was also when he had the realization about how far he'd gone. Because he seemed like super troubled once he realized what he was doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's why the stare down worked, because I don't think he'd actually ever hit anyone before.
Yeah.
Or maybe he never hit someone other than his kid. I don't know. But he definitely felt like, oh, this is a little step too far.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like this moment where I was thinking to myself, maybe the passing of his wife broke him just as much as it broke the kids, but he broke in a direction where he put all of his negative emotions on them for not being perfect children and not being what he needs in this moment. And
the true beast.
The true beast
yeah.
is in us all. So it's just
really, the beast is the friends we made along the way.
You said that in another episode. I can't even remember.
Every episode.
I'm going to say it every episode until it sticks, old man.
There you go. But yeah, I think I thought it was a clever twist on the reveal, like we were talking about before. You know, I'm assuming after he assaulted a child, a girl that, of all things, that CPS or whatever they called it,
somebody
finally made a visit instead of going,
one can hope.
We can't do nothing for another 48 hours. Like,
yeah, Suzu should have had a body cam or something.
I mean, Suzu clearly didn't have a plan.
That whole scene was just nonsensical to me. Like, none of that made any sense.
Didn't have no plan. Just showed up.
He could have gone really south, but
yeah, he could have beat her to death if he was, you know, like, I don't understand why Shinobu. I get it. You can't have Shinobu there because then you can't have that moment where they have the platonic love embrace, right? Because Shinobu would not. It would be a weird moment, you know?
Yeah.
But I don't know. That part, kind of broke a lot of stuff for me. So yeah, I mean, that's the movie, y'all. I mean, any last words before we wrap this up, boyos?
We already gave our last words, man. Just wrap it up.
Go watch it.
Cool. Go watch it. Go watch it. It is an adventure, and something that
it is a adventure.
It is a adventure. Yeah, definitely. I mean, not the greatest movie ever made, but a good movie, a great movie. Definitely a great one to watch with your friends, family, and significant others. I definitely recommend it. The brothers seem to recommend it, and
insignificant others.
Significant others recommend it.
Insignificant others.
Insignificant others. Watch it with them too.
Watch it with them as well. Yes. Your enemies.
Your fins.
So thanks for listening to this episode of Super Agile Bros. Appreciate y'all following us on the journey. We're on the other side of 50, and we got a lot more to go. As always, thank you to the brother Kyle. Thank you for your time this evening,
always a pleasure.
This morning. And as well, thank you to the brother Steve.
Yo, welcome, brother Bradston. It's been a pleasure as always.
Bernie Mac is back.
He's back. Denzel Carter. I don't know. Whatever.
Excuse me.
just squeeze.
Denzel Jackson. Denzel Rock. But honestly, thank y'all for listening.
Thank you, Brad.
Oh no, always thank you for having me, allowing me to be a part of.
Thank me, Brad.
I will thank you again, Steve. But once again, know that you can always listen to us on YouTube, SoundCloud. You can find us on Facebook. We're on Stitcher. We're on Apple Podcasts.
Google us.
We're on Spotify. Just Google Super Agile Bros. You will find us. Please, if you're a fan of our show, if you like what we do, please go out there and review us on the various platforms so other people can find us. But other than that, Enjoy your day. Enjoy your life. Enjoy everything. And as always, we're super thankful. And until next time, y'all take it easy. Peace.